What's up, guys? Big Bad Wolf here. Today we're going to be doing an R6 video. This one is just on Azami and whether she's worth the pick. As you guys know, last week the new season came out in Siege. That is Operation Demon Veil. And with this, we got a new op, Azami. And, you know, she's a really strong op, but also can be a double-edged sword. And so today we're just going to be going over whether or not she's worth the pick, and how to determine where, when to pick her. So I'm going to go over a couple strats that I used with her, ways that I've seen her used, and just kind of things to look out for when you're using her. Now, just like any new op, you know, when new ops come out, they're always used in very basic ways until people can you know, discover the creative ways to use the op, you know. So like as time goes on, people will find more cheeky angles or ways to play the op, and I think Azami's definitely going to be one of those, just because she is able to change the mapping of a map. So you can totally change the flow of the attackers directionally with Azami, depending on how you play her and on your skill level and things like that, and the skill level of the attackers. So we're going to be using Oregon in this example. The reason for that is because I found there's a lot of ways that you can use her on Oregon, and it covers a lot of the different utility that she offers, and just ways she can be played. Because again, she's not like someone like Capcan, where, you know, you set Capcan traps on the doors. That's how Capcan's used. Obviously, there's more to Capcan than that, but in general, his use is very basic. Whereas Azami, I think, is going to be a lot higher skill cap op to use, and so keep that in mind when you're picking her. When you get a teammate that is using her, she can also be a double-edged sword, a lot like Castle. Okay, so because she blocks off areas, like for example, you know, you get this common rotate on kids. If you get a low skill cap Azami who maybe isn't paying attention, you got a guy playing attic, they're on trophy door, and for some reason he just decides to seal that off. Well, now, just like Castle, you're locked out of this rotate, and you're really left in a sticky situation if you're playing up here in attic. So that's something to keep in mind if you are Azami, or if you're playing with an Azami who is maybe lower skill cap. Just, you know, keep an eye out for that. Because again, a lot like Castle, shutting off objective doors. If you're a roamer, or you're playing a soft roam, an off-site, maybe going for a flank, this can really screw up your play. So just, again, keep that in mind. But with that, she also offers a lot of utility, a lot of cheeky ways for her to be used. So one example I've seen is if you just stick, I'm going to call these Azamis, I forget what they're called exactly, but if you stick that on that door frame there, or excuse me, the bed frame there, you can get this nice spread here. And there's two things that you're going to be able to do when you play her on that bed frame. One is you're cutting off the double window angle. It's a lot smaller, so the window that they have to look into objective is going to be a lot smaller than if it were, you know, when it's not there. So this is what the attacker sees. So, you know, top of white is almost totally covered, and you just really get that shelf. That's like all you can see. And it's from the attacker point, you can play this pretty strong, right? You can come over here, play the bed. You get a nice cheeky angle here. You can play back a little bit. This is a nice angle that I like to play, because you can just hold the left side window, and it's going to be really hard for them. They're going to have to react really quick. Another thing that you get with this is a nice pixel peek on trophy. So if you're someone who likes playing this front bunk, or you like Azami, this is a way that you can play her on kids pretty strong. Okay, so, you know, if they do come window, you can flip around, play this. You can also seal off the window. You can throw one in the window, and try to block it off. That's not very effective, just because they can go up and hit it, and they're going to open it back up. And then if they're starting to push trophy, no one's on window, you can get this nice pixel peek. You're going to have a hard time hitting their head, but you can, you know, get some damage on them and then flip around, because this is so hard for them to see or shoot you at. I'll show you here this angle. So if you're in trophy and you're looking at that, I mean, God, you'd have to be a hell of a shot to hit the head of Azami holding that angle, or anyone who's playing front bunk. Another way she can be used, and this is a more basic use, but a good use in my opinion, if you throw these in the top of the door frames, you're going to see their feet when they come across, and they're going to lose line of sight. So what I mean by that is if you're, if the attacker is coming in, let's say they're coming in through master, you threw the Azami in the top of the door just like I did. Look at this. When I swing objective, I can't see anything. And if you're holding that angle on the bed or anywhere down here, unless I'm crouched, you're going to be able to blast my legs and get the kill on me before I can even see you. Maybe I see your foot, but again, you have a huge advantage here. And now the attacker either has to smash it out or they have to go under and stay crouched. So you put them in a very vulnerable situation when you do this. And obviously, if you stack another one right on the bottom of this, you're going to be able to seal off the entire door. So, and she almost becomes a castle at that point. Another thing to be careful of, guys, is if you're a newer Azami player, you're not really thinking. Obviously this game's wall is like one of the priority walls that the attackers are going to go for. And if they do get it open, what you want to avoid doing, and I've seen people do this, they might do something like this. They might try to seal off, well, that was a bad example. So they might try to seal off this like default plant, right? They think that by putting that there, the defender can't get there. And they're gonna be in a good spot. Well, if you do it like this, they can just hop back here, and now they have a very safe place to plant. Okay, they can sit right up on the Azami, and they can plant in this. And you, as a defender, are going to have a very hard time clearing them out of there unless you have an impact nade and you can blow those up. So keep that in mind when you're setting her down, or even like if you set one like right here. Again, now they can plant right here, right behind. I need you to envision one here because I'm out of them. But they can plant right behind the Azami wall, and you're like gonna have a really hard time. So be cautious of that, or conscious of that, when you are setting the Azamis, because again, you can really make it hard for yourself if they do take control. Now, granted, this way, if you threw another one right here and it blocked it, yeah, they might have a harder time, but still they can just plant right here, top white. If nobody's on white, you're going to have a hard time because you can't get an angle on their head. So keep that in mind when you are playing her, to make sure that you're not giving the defenders a nice, safe place to plant, and that you're not cutting off line of sight for your team, or the attackers, rather. Make sure you're not cutting off line of sight for your team, the defenders, and just making it harder on you guys. So again, that's stuff that you got to watch for, and again, is a lot like when you're playing Castle, only in this case, she is more double-edged, I think, in a lot of cases than Castle is if you just don't know how to play her. So again, something to keep in mind. Alright, so now we're basement, and this is gonna, there's a lot of different ways that you can play Azami down in basement, and kind of are ways that you would play her differently than kids. And again, I think that this is why this map is so good at kind of using Azami and the different ways that she can be used. I think she's very good on this map. So we're going to go over a few ways that she can be used down here. So one of the best ways I think she can be used down here is typically you reinforce this half wall, and then you put head holes here, right? Like that's a very common setup for this, so that you can see into barrels, you can play barrels. Well, if you throw her wall right there, okay, pretend I threw it lower, and you get head holes here, this is going to protect you now while you're peeking into barrels. So even this isn't too bad because you can get a nice angle right here. From the other side, unless they have an Ash or a Zofia or anything like that, they're not going to be able to hit that, and they're not even going to recognize that it's there, right? So they're going to be shooting like this all over, and they're not there until they open up the wall. They're not going to even know that there's a half wall or the Azami wall there. So this again gives you a really nice peek into barrels. You get this angle, and actually I kind of like this better than head holes. You get this nice angle, and you get some protection here rather than just a soft wall that you can get blasted through. So that's a strong way for her to be used down here. Another way is if they get hatch open, and this is a basic use of her, you can block the hatch so that they can't hop down, right? So like if you throw that there, and you get one more, you can throw it next to it and block the entire hatch. I'm going to save this just so I can show you guys the other uses. This is going to give you this is going to be really nice if they go for hatch, right? Because if you're up on hatch, first of all, you can block line of sights with her. So, the angles you're going to be able to get out of that hatch now have just been significantly reduced. It'd be better if you sit on the other side, but, and you can still drop it. So I screwed that up, but we'll pretend, okay. Okay, we're just gonna pretend that this is sealed and you can't jump through. So that's obviously another way she can be used, is blocking hatches. There's no vertical play really other than the hatches on this map, or at least this objective. So but if the ceiling was soft, and let's say you had a buck above you or a sledge who's slamming out the floor, you can throw those up on the sledge holes and block the sledge holes as well to protect. So that's another way that she can be used. Again, sort of a basic way, but a strong way. Another one is, this is a rotate that is typically played, right? So you get someone on elbow, and you got a smoke here, he's holding barrels. He's got his shield down, and then typically what happens is if smoke dies or he gets pushed out, you reinforce this off. Well, a lot of times when smoke dies, they start rushing elbow. Okay, so if that happens, what you can do, just like the hatch, is you can seal this off, so that it cancels their line of sight. Yeah, they get this little angle here, but they can't rotate through it unless they start smacking it. And guess what? If they start smacking it, you can start shooting their feet under it. Or you can set a C4 on this side, or a nitro on this side of the Azami wall, and that way if they start smacking it, you just detonate the nitro, and you can kill them. Obviously that takes some team coordination, but that's one way. And then one really good spot that I like to set her up here is on these back stairs. You can, if you get another one here, I don't have one more, but if you get another one, you can basically this is a very common line of sight for a defender or an attacker, right? Like for them to be sitting here watching pillar. If they're here and you have two, first of all, you're gonna know if they're there. They're gonna have to smack this out. And even just with one, they now have to expose themselves more than they would have if they were right here, because right here they can peek the pillar without exposing themselves to E-box, but now they kind of have to expose themselves to E-box here. And if you're playing this hole, because typically people set up, they leave this wall soft, they shoot that out, and then you get that line of sight on back stairwell. Well, now they have to expose themselves and swing a little bit wider than they maybe would want to, and you can shoot them and help this guy who's on pillar. And then this is another good spot too to throw one just like this wall here where we're talking about the head holes. If you throw one on this wall, you can protect your lower body if someone pushes in through barrels or from bunker and gets to pillar. Now they can't shoot out that wall and get line of sight into the objective, and you're protected when you're peeking this here. They have to hit your head. So these are all ways that I found to use Azami. Obviously this is just one map. There's obviously going to be tons more ways that she can be used, but I wanted to go over these use cases because these are going to be pretty universal, right? So like the soft wall seal off here, you can do that on any map, right? So if you're on cafe and you've got a Mira and she's in prep, we'll say, and you leave the wall soft, well, you can throw this under the Mira and protect Mira on the soft wall. Again, if they have an Ash or a Zofia, they're just gonna blow it up, or even a nade. So it's not like the perfect solution, but it gives you a lot more protection. Maybe you get a kill before they open that up, and it was worth it. And then obviously the vertical plays where you're sealing off the ceiling or wherever Buck is, or sledges, or Fuse even. If you hear Fuse start going up there and he's trying to set stuff, throw the Azami on it and he can't fuse that spot anymore. So again, these are just like really strong ways that she can be used that are universal to any map. And then in particular, the thing like the bunk angle upstairs that I was showing you guys, those are going to be ways that I think we're going to see Azami kind of bloom out and her use case get bigger. You're going to start to see more angles that are held like that, where she gets, the way you place it gives you a crazy peak, and that's just something that'll come with time as people throw them in random places and then go, oh, you can use her this way. Which is just like all the other ops, right? Like when all the other ops come out, there's always like that period where people are just using them in their most basic ways, and then eventually start to find their real potential. And again, angles with the Azami are going to be huge. This is one right here too where you can hold this back staircase, and this is just so hard to shoot you. Like if you're playing this as an attacker and you're coming in, I mean, it's not impossible, right? You can win that gunfight as an attacker, but how often do you see a person just like right here? Like that's a good angle, and one I would feel pretty safe in, especially because you got that cam there. You can have people watch the default cam, and then again, just sealing off hatches, things like that. I think she's going to be a really useful player, and I think depending on your skill with her, she is 100% worth the pick. Okay, now, is she more important than a person like Jaeger, or maybe someone that you need for a certain setup? No, you're gonna need your standard setup. Like if you got someone playing elbow and you're having to choose between, nobody picks any nade defense and you got to choose Jaeger, you got to go with Jaeger over Azami, in my opinion, just because that's going to really hold your strat together. She's not necessarily holding a strat together, but she adds an extra layer to the strat that makes it more difficult for the attackers, definitely. So if you've got a 5-stack, or you're playing with a team who knows what they're doing and they pick all the the util ops that you need, then yes, I think she's 100% worth the pick. Again, when you're using her, you have to be conscious of where your team is playing and making sure that you don't screw up your own defense, and seal off a rotate or something that'll really hurt your teammates. Because if you do that, then again, it's counterproductive. It's a lot like using castle and just sealing off the entire objective and locking out your roamers. So just make sure you're not doing stuff like that, because you don't want to give the attackers any advantage. But if you can play her and you feel like you have a good enough skill cap, and are able to recognize, for example, let's say they push off the elbow when you throw this down and you want to swing out there now, or you got a teammate that's out there, break that down. Let them rotate back in. You got to play with a high IQ with her, in my opinion. You've got to be able to recognize, again, where your team is positioned, because otherwise she can be a double-edged sword. But anyways, guys, that's my video on Azami. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be doing more Rainbow Six content. I do a lot of Tarkov content too, so if you're into Escape from Tarkov, check out some of my other videos. As of late, I've been on the Rainbow Six grind with the new season out, which is why I wanted to make this video, because again, I see people use Azami. She gets picked quite a bit. A lot of that is just because she's the new op, but then I see her used in very basic ways that end up destructive to your own defense, and she just has so much more potential than what I see her being used for. So I wanted to show this video to kind of show and expose some of those potentials. So if you're someone who's been trying to find ways to use Azami, I hope this gives you some resources, a base for her uses, and gives you some ideas. So again, I hope you guys found this video useful, and I will see you next time.